Hey everybody, welcome to another Ayn Thor video. If you're not familiar with the Thor, it is this dual screen handheld. Some might call it a retro handheld, although it does a lot more than retro games, although it does a great job playing retro games. And if you've watched the channel off and on over the last month, you might have noticed a couple of other Ayn Thor videos that I did. And of course, last year I did a bunch of JRPG videos, which kind of led me down this rabbit hole. And now I arrived at this Ayn Thor device. And what I wanted to do, because I spent a lot of time like in the Discord and watched a bunch of other videos and just on the Reddits and all that kind of stuff. And I wanted to consolidate like kind of a top 10 tweaks or mods or tips and tricks type of thing for folks, because a lot of this isn't just like readily available information. And you know, some of the more professional awesome people that are in the retro handheld YouTube space haven't necessarily covered some of this directly, although some have, and I will have links exactly to videos and stuff like that, just to kind of you know, go into more detail on some of the things that I'll mention here. But I've kind of gone through some different accessories, for example, different like little settings and different little tweaks, and run into like some roadblocks and stuff on certain things that I'm going to mention here. And so just so folks have some more awareness about it, because I mean, this is like my new favorite gadget in the whole wide world. And so I recommend it highly, and I recommend a lot of the stuff, all of the stuff I should say, that I'm going to talk about now. So let's jump down to the table, and there's exactly 10 of these. They're not like any kind of order as a top 10, they're just 10 things. So let's jump down and we'll go through some of this stuff. So the first topic I want to talk about are styluses. And I mentioned in my review, sort of overview video of it, that I was using this one, which is kind of like a retractable stylus. And you'll note that I was able to tape it to the top here of the Thor from the footage of that video. And it worked really well. It didn't get in the way or anything like that. And this actual stylus itself, you know, this little tip here, was performing fine. I mean, I just played around with it a little bit. So this one is good. I'll have a link to this one below. It's really cheap. And it's nice because it does come with that little retractable bit, and it does, you know, mount right on there. So you don't have to like go find it when you need it. But the other stylus that I am using here is the one that's meant for the Nintendo Switch. And I found this one to be a little bit better in terms of just like the responsiveness on the screen. And I will link to a couple of videos that go through all kinds of different styluses. So if a stylus is like really important to you, then there'll be some links to videos there. It's not really that much of a thing that I use that often, but once in a while I will use it. So I like to be able to have it when I need it, kind of thing. Which brings me to the next topic. So go ahead and watch those links on the different stylus videos. But I have changed out the grip on the Thor. So I had the original official grip from Ayn, and it was fine. It worked good. You know, I didn't have any problems with it necessarily. It was like almost perfect. Now this is one that I got off of Etsy here. So we'll take a look at here. And I will link to a kind of a general Etsy page. And then I also have a link to this specific grip. And now this is there's a comfort version of this, and then there's a chonky version. And this is the chonky version. And you see it's got some sort of padding in here and padding on the sides here where you slide the device in, as well as padding here for where you close the screen. And it is a little bit more filled out, let's say, than the official grip. And it's a little bit sturdier. Now this is a 3D printed grip here, and it just has a little bit more of a back end to it, so to speak, and you can see there's some ridges right here, which makes it easier to sort of grip. So we're going to slide this in. Actually, we have to do this first. So it slides in, and the nice thing that you notice here, a couple of things to note, is you can see the pads here, like so, right there, and the screen will rest right on top of that there. So there's not really any, there's still a little bit of a gap here, right? But there's no room for screen give. Right, so this kind of keeps this sealed, because, you know, one of the things, if you ride with this without a grip or any kind of TPU shell, there is a tendency for it to, if you know, put it in a bag or put it in the wrong spot, for some pressure to come down on this lid, on the clamshell, and then maybe add stress to the hinge or just to the overall device there. But this has nice resting spots for that. And the other thing I like about this more than the original grip is this is all wide open here. The other one kind of has like little slots for you know, kind of covers up the bottom, and so sometimes it's a little tricky to push the power button or the volume button, but this is all wide open, and I kind of like that a little bit better because you're not fiddling around with it. And then, as I said, the other part of it is there's a little bit, just a little bit extra chonkiness, you know, as the name of the grip implies, that fits kind of like my bigger hands. I mean, I don't have huge hands, but it's a little bit bigger than, you know, maybe the average person. So this is something like, if you got the official grip and you're like, gosh, it's still like, it feels a little crampy to you, then I would look at this one. And the other nice thing about this is I've seen people complain about these triggers here, right here. But here's a neat little thing, which I sort of maybe is a happy accident, is you see this kind of sloped edge here. So this I've found when I'm playing like a shooter or just a game that uses triggers a lot, it kind of more naturally, you know, gravitates my fingers to get to those triggers. And so that's really helpful. Now I did look, there are little 3D printed like add-ons to sort of flesh these triggers out a little bit more. And I thought about buying those, but I think I don't actually need them now because of this particular grip. Now I don't know if it's just this chonky grip that has that sort of, you know, happy accident of making the triggers a little bit easier to push and stuff, but it does. But there are also, if you don't, maybe this is too big of a grip for you and you don't like a grip at all, but you hate the triggers. So there is little attachments that you can get on Etsy, and they're super cheap to sort of flesh the triggers out. But as that is for me right now, it's fine. The other cool part about this, you'll see, oh, I don't have the stylus up here anymore. Well, on the back side, there's actually two little slots here. So you can see there's a slot here for the Nintendo Switch stylus, which is on this side. And you can see, because there's a little bitty, I don't know if you can see that there. There, you see that little bump there. I'm not sure what that's there for, but they specifically designed this slot on the grip here to put the stylus in there. And then to get it out, you're just gonna touch the back. So if I'm playing a game here, let's just open this up. And if I'm in the, oh, I need the stylus, I can just slide it here with the back of my hand and then, you know, go and do whatever I'm gonna do there. I'll just put it right back in there. Now the other side, let's just close this back down, is meant actually for this slide out grip. And this is total serendipity that I was like, oh, this grip fits the exact two styluses that I bought. So this one will actually fit in there. But I don't really need this one anymore because I like this Nintendo one better. This is available on Amazon. So now I've just got this nice little case here, or grip, with the spot for the stylus, and it fits great in my hands, and it helps the trigger issue. It's much more open, it's much more sturdy. It's just fantastic. So anyway, there'll be links to all that stuff. Now, while we're talking hardware and accessories, I don't have anything to show you here because my advice is actually not to buy anything. So I got some screen protectors for this, and it was not a good experience. And I got them, I will link to the company because I've seen positive reviews of other screen protectors for other devices, but other than the official screen protectors, there's a company called Via Screens that makes screen protectors specifically for the Thor. Now they have several varieties. I only tried the one variety, which was their impact protector. And all of their screen protectors will protect the large top screen and just here, the middle of the bottom screen. It doesn't cover the whole bottom panel like the official protectors do. So I got that, and they, in my opinion, are not a good quality. So they came kind of warped and bent a little bit, like curved, I would say. And they were not as good as like the protector like here on my phone. And this is a tempered glass protector that's on my phone. And their impact protector from Via Screens is sort of, quote unquote, their version of tempered glass. It's not as sturdy and as good a quality, which maybe is by design. The other part is that it does dim the screen noticeably. I wouldn't say tremendous amount, but I did not care for that part of it, and it was a little too flimsy. And the reason I think it may not be as thick as it should be is because it probably would affect the closing of the screen here, which is one of the reasons I didn't buy the official one, because I saw two problems online and in the Discord, and multiple people posted about it, where the official screen protector, it made it so it was so thick, especially I think if you applied both of them, I'm not sure about that part, but if you applied the screen protector, it wouldn't really seem to close the device properly. The other thing I saw was it tended to bubble in certain places, the official protector. And I saw a couple examples of that. And this Viascreen one did the same thing. Like I had it perfectly flat, all the bubbles were out, but then on the edges here, I think it was over in this corner actually, this would start to bubble up, like it wasn't quite sitting down. And then there was one like corner over here where it sort of bubbled out, and I was like, I don't like this at all. And it just aggravated me. And I said, you know, I'm gonna ride without a screen protector because it is a clamshell, so I may not need a screen protector as long as I'm, you know, I baby it a little bit. A little bit nervous. But there are other protectors as well from Viascreens for, like, you can see if I can get some reflection. So that will cut down on the reflective quality, especially if you have the black model like I have. And they have some other varieties there. And I do like what they did where they put, you know, they have one protector for the top and then they have one just for the square that doesn't interfere with the controls, because the official screen protector, it, you know, covers the whole panel here, so it can kind of get in the way of the buttons and stuff. I saw where people were kind of like catching their fingers or whatever, like, or the button would catch on this bottom screen protector. So this is more of a tip. Like, don't buy a screen protector, in my opinion. But you know, your mileage may vary, and then your comfort level with the safety of the glass on the device may vary as well. But that's kind of my third tip there, is don't get a screen protector because it is a clamshell. And you know, maybe there will be you know, more reputable companies or such that, you know, do provide some really good solid screen protection, and when they come out, maybe I'll take a look at those. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is docks. So I, in my opinion, stupidly bought the official dock, and it works fine from a technical perspective. It streams to the TV fine, it, you know, powers the device, all that kind of fun stuff. I think it looks nice, it's very sturdy. But this is not meant for the Thor. This is really meant for the Odin 2, the Odin 2 Portal, I think. A couple of things. So first of all, with any kind of case, it's not going to go into the dock. And this is a huge nitpick on my part, but like with my Switch, it could be in a case and I could dock it and not have to take the case off, and it just goes in and out. So you know, you got to get a certain kind of case for it, but they did exist, and you know, and I like that. The other problem is this. Okay, now I got to take this out of the case. Then I got to put it in here, and you can't just dock it straight up because of the clamshell. You got to kind of crack the clamshell, put it in, and then close it. And then it does kind of like rest on the lip here, which is not a lot of fun. So that I didn't really care for at all. And it's just a fiddly thing. And then the thing is, like, it feels like since the HDMI out there is slightly off center here, which is not a problem, but it's centered here. So it is you kind of have to like guide it to get it in there. And I feel like I'm either going to damage the plug here, or I'm going to damage this on the device itself. So that's no fun at all. But there's a great alternative, which is way cheaper than this. I believe, I can't remember, this is like 30 or 40 bucks from AYN. This I got for $12 on Amazon. I'll have a link to it. Now, there is a trick with this. You do need a 100-watt power supply. So once you get this plus the 100-watt power supply, it's basically the price of this. So even though this is cheap, you still have to have a 100-watt power supply. I will put a link to that as well. That's buried behind my TV. I'm not going to get it out. But this is very nice. It's kind of like a little hub as well. You can have multiple devices going in here, and you know, you don't have to open the case or anything. You can just plug it directly in there and just set it down, and it works beautiful. It works fine. It's fantastic. This particular one is from 𝗗𝗜𝗦𝗖𝗟𝗔𝗜𝗠𝗘𝗥𝗦. There are a couple sort of like this, but you definitely need the power supply to power this, so it'll actually do the charging as well as the video out and all that stuff. And there's a couple like this one as well, but I definitely recommend it. I bought it without that. I was like, this isn't working. I had to go online, and I go, oh, you need a certain power supply. I went down to Best Buy and bought that. Got that. Everything was perfectly good and fine. This is a great little device here. And it's great for, you know, docking this thing. Like I said in my review type of video, this is a great little handheld on the go. You got your DS, your 3DS, and then guess what? You can dock it and play PC games and Switch games and all kinds of fun stuff, you know, on your big TV if you want to do that. So speaking of docking, we're going to go to our next topic here. This is the controllers. And I think, for my money, the PlayStation 4 or 5 or whatever controller is the best controller to get, particularly for this device for docking. And it may just be a general Android thing as well. And the reason is, it's, you know, I know I like Xbox controllers fine. I don't mind an Xbox 360 style controller. You know, the form factor is not a huge deal for me. But I would say this one and probably the Steam controller, which I've never held in my hand, but because of this pad. And the Steam controllers, they have their, I think they're down here like this. So they have the kind of the touchpad. And the reason for that is let's do a little bit of an example here. Let's just bring this guy in here. We'll turn this controller on. So I've got the controller working now. We're just gonna jump into something. So now you can probably see the mouse kind of moving around there in the sky a little bit. So some games, they don't have an easy exit, right? They don't just, if you hit the B button, they don't just tab out. Or if you might be in a GeForce Now type of menu, you know, you might be on the Xbox Live streaming, whatever, Steam Link, then you can't get it out of there. So this is nice because if I do this, see, I can scrape down with the mouse. Now it's not super awesome, but you can do it. So if this is docked on the TV, you don't have to get up from the couch, go and, like, you know, do the touch screen, because this will simulate the touch screen, because there's some certain games, certain controls. So we can do like this. So if I just want to close all my apps, close that down, it goes back to my front end and I can get into here. Like if I'm going into, you know, Boosteroid or Better xCloud or Game Hub or something that doesn't easily like back itself out. Like Game Hub Lite, for example, is a good one. It'll back itself out when you're just hitting the back button or the cancel button on your controller, whatever that ends up being. So that is super useful, just having this pad. And I really can't stress it enough how important that is, and at least to me, because if I'm doing something like I'm playing a game or a shooter or something like that, some MAME game, and I'm like, okay, I'm kind of warmed up, I want to go play, you know, Metaphor 𝗗𝗏𝗘𝗦𝗖𝗟𝗔𝗜𝗠𝗘 streaming or something. And then I get into that and I play that for like an hour and I'm like, oh, I want to do something else. And I would want to get out of there. I don't have to get up from, like I said, the couch, go mess with the screen and then like redock it and jiggle with this input, you know, input-output port and all that stuff. I've got this right here. And I would expect the Steam controller would be similar. But this is a godsend. I highly recommend this if you're going to get in the situation where you're going to be docking this at all. Now, the next thing to talk about is we're going to get into some software kind of tweaks and mods and stuff that you can do. And I'll have some links. This one, I think there's a YouTube short or something like that, but I'll put a link to the video to give them credit because, I mean, I learned how to do this from there. So if I go into settings here, like so, and I'm going to go down to accessibility. And then down here in accessibility, you can see we have magnification. So we're going to tap that. We're going to scroll down here. We're going to turn on the shortcut. You can see it's now popped up a little icon there. That's great. The one thing we want to do is magnification type here is we want it to be part of screen right there. So we're going to see what we're doing. We're going to say, that's it there actually. That's all we need to do. Now at the top of the screen here, let's just get into a game real quick. So you can see I loaded up here Final Fantasy 12 Zodiac Age because this is a good example. So I'm in this little dungeon here. So I'm going to tap this and now you can see, oh, okay, I've got this little icon here. So I can just drag that over up there. It's on the mini map, but guess what? The mini map is now down here. So wherever you have this, if you've got it kind of in an out of the way spot, because, you know, there is one thing about this. So this is a nice, good 6-inch screen. Some of the games you play on this are kind of meant for like a TV or a bigger monitor here. So in this case, if there's something that has like some detail there, maybe I'm looking for exactly certain types of icons, like, you know, maybe this is an icon heavy mini map and there's a lot of things there. So you can see if you look at the mini map there on the bottom, you can see I'm moving around. So now I've got like a merchant there and all that stuff. So I can just easily look instead of squinting up there. And as long as this doesn't really bother you or covers the area only that you are, you know, wanting to zoom in, then this is absolutely just a cool little thing. So you can play with that and then you can easily just tap that and then that'll just turn it off if it bugs you, and you can turn it back on just by tapping that. And then to get out of it, let's just exit out of everything here. We'll go back here to settings. And then so we still got the icon there. So go back down to accessibility and then magnification, and we can just turn that off, and then we can turn it on as we need it, because there's plenty of games that we won't need it for. So anyway, that's a nice, cool little software tweak. So the next one I'm going to show you briefly. I'm going to give you a link to Joey's Retro Handhelds. He does a great, very detailed walkthrough of how to set this up. But one thing that I frankly didn't notice too much, but once it was kind of pointed out, I was like, oh yeah, that is bad, is the sound on the device, at least compared to some other devices. Like, it can be way better. Well, you can fix it with a couple of programs. And again, I'll link to Joey's video there, and it's really great. It walks you right through it. And as soon as I turned it on, it was like, holy crap, this is amazing. So there is a caveat though. So I do have an addition to the one thing that Joey mentions in the video, and it has to do with Vita 3K, which is the PS Vita emulator. I don't think Joey plays Vita games. I mean, he might, but I went through and tested a whole bunch of stuff after watching his video, and the only thing I had a problem with was Vita. So I'll show you a way around that. So we've got two apps here. First one is OTP Tweaks. Now you can use this to basically root your device, which I did, and then I unrooted it because I didn't really need to. So I was like, let's just leave it not rooted. So you can do like an easy root with this, but that's not what we're here to do. We want to tap on Tweaks down here, and then we're going to tap on James DSP. So you'll enable that and you'll install that, and then it'll go download it and install it for you. So now let's just go take a look at James DSP. So here we've got James DSP, and there's all kinds of settings and stuff like that. Like, I'm not going to go into it here, but I will leave it to Joey's video, because there is a little piece of like code that you have to sort of copy and paste into here, just like some characters and digits and stuff like that, to get it to work right. Now the other cool thing about Joey's video is if I swipe up here, you don't have to open it down here, but you can actually turn this off and on. You can set this menu in the little quick menu at the top. But we're just going to use a quick example. So let me get into a game here. Okay, for this one, I'm going to fiddle with my mic just a little bit, so I might be a little uncomfortable here for a second, but just so you can get a better sense. So this is without it enabled, okay? So I don't know how it sounds to you, because it's going through this mic here, all that stuff. So now we're going to turn it on. I mean, in person it is like drastically better. So hopefully when I sit down to edit this, you can tell. So we'll go back off. I mean, this sounds like a radio down the hall playing. And I'll turn it on. It's got a little bit more of a bottom end, a bass. Right. Okay, so now, like I said, the problem with the Vita 3K and the PS Vita emulator. Okay, so it's not actually doing it right now. It actually sounds perfectly fine. So you're gonna hear it sounds really nice. I don't have the mic right up to it, but here we go. Okay. So what you sometimes will hear, especially when it's running game engine, like that previous bit with the whole music and the psychedelics, that's like a cinematic. Doesn't usually have a problem there, but like if you click the menu around, you will hear very distinct crackling and just overall crappiness. And it's worse on some Vita games than others, but it's definitely noticeable. Now, if you do run into that, and so let me just exit out of this so it's not as noisy. So if you do run into that, and I have seen it kind of be waffly, I have seen it work fine before, and then I thought I had fixed something by adjusting the drivers in Vita, the turnip drivers, and adjusting the audio output from QDEB to Pulse or whatever the thing was, and then it went back to not working. The surefire way to get it to not sound like crap is to go into directly OTP Tweaks in here, and then go into Tweaks here, and then just totally disable the James DSP. Even if you go here, like I've set this up to be on the top and just turn this off and on like that, that won't even do it. Even if the James DSP is off, if you're having that crackling issue, it won't fix it. You've got to go here in OTP Tweaks and disable it. So there's some, I'm speculating here because the Vita 3K emulator is just, hasn't been touched in a while as far as I remember. I think it's like a year since the last code update. So I think there's like some, I'm going to use the incorrect language here, some like IRQ conflicts, some kind of port conflict or something with what this tweak is trying to do versus how the V2 3K is accessing the sound. And it's likely a V2 3K problem. I don't think it's a problem with this tweak because everything else works fantastic. But if you do run into that, you can just go in here and disable that, and it will fix your sound right up. Now it won't sound all amazing, but honestly the V2 3K games in here, even with this disabled, they don't sound that bad anyway. But this tweak here really helps with a lot of the, especially the retro systems, because those sound extra tinny. I mean, you even heard that was a Switch game I was playing there before. You could definitely noticeable, I hope, at least on the video. But it's really noticeable like on some of the arcade shooters and stuff like that. It just has a nice fuller volume. Like it feels like, oh, I'm in the arcade standing there amongst all the noise, you know. So anyway, that's kind of the DSP fix. So this next tip or trick is just kind of a fun, silly one. It's something that I didn't think about before getting the Thor. I already did a video about this in terms of Dragon Quest. I'll do another video about Metroid because I do have the new Metroid Prime, the Switch 1 version obviously, working on here. It works with some nightly builds of Eden and Citron. None of the official releases support it yet, and as far as I know, no other emulators support it. So I'll do a breakdown of all the Metroid games. But one really cool thing about this, if you can see all the different systems that you can run really well on here, is you can pick a universe, you can pick a character, you can pick just a series of games and basically play through them all. I'm currently playing through the Metroid one, like I said. I did, and with Metroid, I'm actually playing through it in the in-universe chronological order. So I started with the remake of the original on Game Boy Advance, finished that, the Metroid Zero Mission, and then I did Metroid Prime, and then since this is now, you can be a DS, I did Metroid Prime Hunters. Now I did that on my old 3DS, but you could play it here, and so I've gone through that, and then now I'm on Metroid Prime 2 and playing through that. There's even special tweaks and setups, which is why I want to do the Metroid video specifically, because for some of the Wii games, Metroid Other M, and then also there's also this thing called, I'll get to it here, Prime Hack, which runs on PC and also Android. This is all 3 Metroid Prime games. There's special control sets for some of those Wii games. And there's a little bit of a different setup with the 3 Metroid Prime trilogies, as well as Other M here that you have to sort of set up. So I'll do another video specifically on how to get those set up, and all the games, and just kind of go through a showcase of all the Metroid games. But yeah, so you can do this. I mean, you can do every Zelda game, you could do every Mega Man game, you could do every Pokemon game. There's videos to that. I'll put links to those. So if you're like really into a certain system or character or series, you can basically play everything on here, in an experience kind of tailor-made for it. Now, some of the stuff, like for example, like Final Fantasy, for example, if you watch my channel at all, last year I played through all the Pixel remasters except for 6. And you can play all those on here through, I think I have it on here on GameHub. Yeah, I did install it here. So I'm going to try to go through 6 at some point, maybe next year. So you can see this is all GameHub, so this is all my Steam games, or some of them. So I got Final Fantasy 6 and the Suikoden games. And so I can play that. So if I want to play the originals, maybe I can do that. Or maybe I prefer this version. I think this is a better way to play it. So you can get the HD remaster. I can play the Pixel remasters. And, I actually bounced around. So this is obviously a game I purchased on Steam. And I was like, what's the best way to play this particular game? Because I did all the others on the Pixel remaster on my PC. And that was fine. But I like having the portability factor of it. So I tested out the Game Boy Advance version. I tested out the regular Super Nintendo version of it. And I think there was another one I played around with. So I played around with them and I was like, okay, I bought the game. I'm going to play which one I want to play. I'm going to play the one I like. And I did end up settling on the Pixel remaster. So I was like, yeah, I think this is the best experience that you can play with this game. This is nice. It gives you the flexibility and the choice to kind of take the gaming into your own hands, so to speak, and play it in different situations. So you can play it on the go, you can dock it, all that fun stuff. I've talked to that to death. But anyway, this is kind of a fun way of sort of approaching it. Now, speaking of software, Let's go up here to my Android games stuff. So you can see here I have a Netflix game on there because I got a Netflix account. So I installed a few of these and I just wanted to talk about them because there is a little bit of a caveat to some of these Netflix games, and it was a sort of an avenue I did not expect to use this for. So I've got this Asphalt Extreme, which is a fun little racer. I think it's like a gotcha game though. It's fun though. So I got that on here. These are all like free with your Netflix account. Now for some reason the artwork for Dead Cells doesn't load, but the game works fine. So Dead Cells is a really cool game. What else we got in here? So this is RDR, this is Red Dead Redemption. I'm gonna talk about that in a minute. You've got to do something special with the Thor, but not everybody has to do this. It's very strange. Also I put on here TMNT, Shredder's Revenge. That's a lot of fun. Now I did try a few others. Like World of Goo was a game that I had a lot of fun with on the Wii, but it doesn't use the controller. The controller just doesn't get recognized in here. And there's a handful of good games. Now they had 3 Grand Theft Auto games. They had Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and then San Andreas. I wanted to play that, but they took that one off. So I was like, okay, no big deal. And I don't really like the other ones. So, but you can play some of the Grand Theft Autos on there and that kind of thing. Now the weird thing here, you can see here, this is RDR, but you can see it's got this weird icon here. So it's Red Dead Redemption, and it runs very well. So let's just take a look here. But the weird part is that it doesn't recognize. So you can see, okay, downloaded from somewhere there. I don't know. The game told me that. I didn't tell you that. So if you want to pause the video and figure that out. Now you can see though, let's back this out so you can see it again. So we're going to watch. Now watch closely. Now it's going to validate Netflix. So it's signing me into Netflix there. So you're still going to have the Netflix account. You can't just go get it from that spot and use it. It's still going to try to validate Netflix. So let's take a look out here. We can see the FPS down there. And I have not really fooled around with different versions of this game, like on Switch or anything. I had played this long ago on the Xbox 360. But it runs really well. See, you see I got a solid like 40 frames per second. And I haven't run into any crashes or hitching or glitches or anything like that. It runs very, very well. The weird thing is, if you go to the Google Play Store and try to download it like I did when it came out, I was like, oh sweet, Red Dead Redemption, like running natively on Android. I was like, that's fun. I probably shouldn't play that because my gaming backlog will suffer. But it wouldn't let me do it because it wasn't like a certified device or some nonsense. But I got a Netflix subscription. So if you go to that website, you want the 6 GB version. In my opinion, it's not piracy because I got a Netflix account. So you're supposed to be able to play the game for free. But other people have played it fine. They can go to the Google Play Store, they can download it. There's no big deal. It just works, installs right away. And yeah, I'm just running around. I'm going to just be an a-hole for a second. Just so you can see some action. Get the horse. Oh. Anyway, so you can see it runs really good. So if you have a struggle with it with your Ayn Thor, then check out that website, and then you've got to get like a special installer from them because it's an APKs file, which is like a multi-APK type of thing. Oh, I'm in trouble now. They heard I got this from somewhere else. Okay, anyway, so that's that. I just wanted to make mention of that, some of the Netflix games and some of the caveats with it. And the last one I just wanted to mention was just a friendly reminder, which probably a lot of people know, but not everybody thinks about this stuff. So I'm in the settings here on the app. I'm going to go all the way down here to System. We're going to go to Odin, FOTA, means firmware over the air something or other. I think it means firmware over the air. It's an over the air update. So I can click this. So you go to System. Let's back out. So you go to System. You go to Settings, down to System, all the way to the bottom. Go to Odin FTA. So I can check the version here. Should be up to date with the latest. And you want to do this. And so everybody's going to go, duh, that's a stupid tip. But no, you know what? It is not a stupid tip because they updated something really cool. So if I go here, and let me just back out here. So let's say I'm in the top browsing for something, or I've got a game with a text input and I want this keyboard. Usually the keyboard shows up here and covers up a whole bunch of stuff on the screen, but you can change it now with the OTA update because you have this little pin at the bottom that you can tap. We're going to leave it there to make sure that the keyboard always shows up at the bottom of the screen. So now you can type down here without interfering all that. That came through an OTA update. So my last tip is this. I would say join the Discord, check out all the YouTube channels. Obviously, if you're watching this one, you're gonna be like, I already do that stuff. But it's just a good reminder in case somebody kind of new at this is watching. It's a great place to go in. I especially recommend the Discord. I think most people are very friendly in there if you go to the AYN Discord. And there's all kinds of stuff with getting emulators set up to help, or just general questions about the device. A lot of the stuff here, I mean, a part of that's the inspiration of that place to put this video together. So yeah, just, do your research and just keep digging and keep looking for stuff and ask questions on this video or any other of my videos if you get stuck, and I'll point you to the right place. And there's a bunch of other cool videos and setup guides. I'm going to link them here. I linked them in my previous video. Definitely, don't be intimidated and walk through all of that stuff, because I've been able to, with the power of the internet, without using any AI, and just using people's general friendliness and generosity and helpfulness, I've been able to get this device set up and many other devices, and learn how to mod my Switch and learn how to mod my 3DS and all that kind of fun stuff. So it's all out there. Anyway, those are kind of like 10 little tips, tricks, mods, accessories, blah, 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 whatever you want to call it. And yeah, you can see I'm quite fond of this device. So anyway, thanks. Let me know if there's any questions or anything like that, and have a good rest of your day. And if you're watching this video in real time, happy holidays.